obviously I've been following Hugh's story for a long time, but then last year when I was getting ready, so I published in September, and as I was leading up to that, SPFBO, Self-Published Fantasy Blog Off Competition, probably not a competition I added that part, was being hosted for the 6th time, or was it the 7th?
Last year was 6, yeah.
Last year was 6.
Yeah.
So that popped up on my radar, and I'd also only just started twitting and twatting, which is where I basically got exposed to it and following reviewers, and I realized, hell, this is a really nice idea. Like this, it's run by somebody who I've read their books and like their books, and I really like this champion of self-publishing, and it's giving lots of exposure to books that I wouldn't have known of. I mean, jumping ahead as well, but one of the reviewers, actually I think it's you guys or FanFi, introduced me to Michael R. Fletcher, who is...
It's probably us.
Yeah, I think it was you guys.
We're big champions of Michael R. Fletcher.
We've been talking a lot about
I'm
this
pretty
guy.
I'm pretty certain it was you guys. So yeah, I saw his cover and I was like, that looks interesting, and I realized he was a finalist, and then read his book and I thought, this is spectacular. So I've read his whole catalog now, except for his Noyoska groans. And then there was an SPFO Twitter thread with Mark Lawrence and him kind of chatting, and I was like, oh god, do you guys know if there's a sci-fi version of this competition? Because it sounds absolutely spectacular.
Yeah.
I would love to enter in it. And Mark's like, no. I think he was a bit busy. and Fletcher was like, no, but I would love to be involved in it, but I'm not famous enough and nobody cares who I am. And I was like, and then I just left it. Sorry, no, I lie. That's this year. Last year, Mark just said kind of no. And then this year it popped up again. And Fletcher was in it again. And I was like, okay, so seeing you around a few times, I would love to do a sci-fi one. And he said, no, he would also, but he's not famous enough. At which point in time I went, well, I think I know somebody who might be A, famous enough, B, possibly interested. I just have to annoy him. So I tweeted at Hugh and I said, is this something that you might be wanting to do? And luckily enough, he said yes. And since then, we've been making it up as we go. But so far, it's going pretty well, I think.
Well,
yeah, except there's a flaw in your strategy here. Like, you wanted this to exist so you could enter a book into it. Then I know. It's disqualified yourself. So.
And I actually asked him that question. Are you going to enter? He's like, what? No.
No, Hugh asked me the same thing, and I was like, I can't. I wish this.
I thought he should put a different name on it, and don't even tell me about it. Like, just totally like
put a
make
French
it blind.
name. Yeah.
The problem is, I think it's now. It's been visible enough and spoken of enough that people would read it and instantly know this idiot's just renamed his book in his own competition. Yeah. What a dickhead! So no, I didn't go that route. And
someone would pick it up and say, "Alien, World War Z."
What's this rip-off? Somebody's ripping
Generation
up your book,
Kill.
Duncan?
Well,
this
it has a French name. I could have put my name on it. It would have worked.
So no, it's one of the catch-22, but in the same breath, I'm creating something with a whole bunch of people. There's 59 reviewers. So there's 60. Am I forgetting anyone? 59 reviewers plus Hugh and myself. 61 people working on this from scratch for free for the love of books and self-publishing and sci-fi. And Hugh and I have already spoken about this. Obviously, rivaling the Hugos and the Nebulas one day just for self-publishing. So we have lofty goals. And it's something we want to do every single year. So in my eyes, it's win-win. I mean, I've because I'm like most authors on Amazon, I view my KDP on most days. I can already see it's had an impact, so I'm not complaining.
No, I mean, so far the response has been really good, and honestly, I think after so many years of SPFBO, there are a lot of people who think, where is the sci-fi version?
Well,
there needs to be the champion of sci-fi. Just
I was convinced it existed. That's why I was like, "There's no way that this isn't out there. I just don't know what it's called." Clearly, somebody with more experience and knowledge can point me in the right direction. And apparently, at least in the US, we might be one of the first mover advantage kind of groups, competitions.
Mm-hmm. And I think it's really, once again, we talked about positivity earlier and just sort of spreading the message about sci-fi that you like. And if there's an opportunity for people who are starting out with their first book or one of their first few books, and they don't really have the self-confidence to push themselves out there as a full-fledged author or anything like that, or maybe even go towards traditional publishing. There's this competition that offers them the opportunity to say, fuck it, I'm just going to put it out there, and if people like it, they like it. But then there's reviewers like us who are looking at those books and saying, this is actually really good, and then give that encouragement and feed back into the industry some positivity that it really needs.
And it's also that exposure that, as far as I can tell, I haven't done the route, is possibly the only real big advantage of going traditional, is that they've got a big marketing machine behind you.
Yep.
And they will ensure, if they think your book is good and if they think you're going to earn out your down payment, so your advance, that they'll put you in bookstores enough to at least recoup costs. Whereas, for your self-publishing guys, you are on your own unless you can find champions or people that will share your message, or reviewing groups and bodies and bloggers and booktubers who rave emphatically about how well you wrote XYZ. So competitions like this, I guess, is another way for kind of that exposure to come through, and also remove the stigma of self-publishing, like the quality